As we see the types of elasticity, right from price elasticity, income elasticity, and cross elasticity, and finally the advertisement elasticity. After that, we start the demand forecasting. How do you classify the demand forecasting? Then what is the purpose of it? Then finally, we started the methods. Methods is a little bit bigger one. So I said I will continue in the next class. So before moving towards the methods of demand forecasting, first we should know what are the types of demand forecasting. As far as the demand forecasting is concerned, there will be one definite section A question, one section B question, and there is a possibility of having a case study. So in the last class itself, I have given there are two definitions you have to mention. Suppose if they ask in section A, I have mentioned two definitions here. You can go about. I will share this PPT to you. According to even Douglas, he said demand is estimation, may be defined as a process for finding the demand for the future period. That is just predicting the future sales of a company. It's nothing but demand forecasting. Similarly, the another definition is and still this is more appropriate definition. Most of the time sometimes they may mention this author name and they may ask. So by that time you should write the second definition only. The definition goes like this. Demand forecasting is an estimate of sales during a specified future period based on proposed market plan and a set of particular uncontrollable and competitive forces. In this, we have mentioned 5 key factors. One is you have to say it about estimation only, and you have to mention about the time perspective, that is specified future period. And you have to mention the third category is future sales. What is the value of sales that you are going to? Then another 2 is it should have a particular thing, a controllable forces or uncontrollable forces and competitive forces. So these 5 category it must be included whenever you are estimating the future sales. That is why Kandip still rightly pointed out it is an estimation of future sales for the proposed marketing plan, that too with the uncontrollable and competitive forces. It may be for demand forecasting for existing product. It may be for a new product. It may be for a purpose or specific, or it may be a long run or a short run. Irrespective of different types of demand forecasting, these 5 we should keep in mind. Based on that criteria, we should select the best method. So what are all the methods, that is, what are the types of demand forecasting we can have? Totally, we have 9 demand forecasting. In that, there are 4 factors are considered. Based on the time, it may be classified into 2 categories, short term and long term. Based on the business level, it may be individual level or industry level or macro level. Based on the type of action, whether it is aggressive or defensive. So be passive action demand forecasting, active action demand forecasting. Finally, the objective. What is the purpose of demand forecasting? Whether it is a routine one or a particular task. So it is classified into 2 categories, general demand forecasting and specific demand forecasting. This one we have already discussed in the last class. I'm just refreshing that. After that, once we know what is the different types, then oftenly asking question is distinguish between long-term demand forecasting and short-term demand forecasting. Actually answer in the next slide, but before that, write the list of objectives of demand forecasting. What are the objectives? The objectives are classified into 2 categories. One is short-term objectives and long-term objectives. These 5 points also the difference between long-term and short-term only. Once you understand the objective, then it's easy to apply the different methods. Whenever we are talking about the production policy or pricing strategy or about the purchase intent or say the receipt or mobilizing the fund, these 5 category, it is always a short-term nature. So all these objectives coming under short-term objective. How to say? Formulating a production policy or framing the pricing policy or preparing the purchase and sales category, that is policy, and how to mobilize, that is arranging the working capital. for all these things, we should have a short-term demand forecasting. But on the other hand, when it is more than 1 year, for example, what is the total capacity of the mission? Whether we are using full capacity. Suppose if we increase, what will happen? So expansion of production capacity is a long-term nature. That too, the HR, human resource. Whenever you want to plan for the manpower, first we should decide whether it is labor intensive or capital intensive. Based on that only the manpower will be planned. Definitely for 5 years or 10 years it will be. So it is a long-term objective. Anything related with the management policy, any decision in a policy or in a major level, then that demand forecasting is a long-term nature. So simply we may say more than a year or 5 years, 10 years, 20 years means those planning are coming under the objective of long-term demand forecasting. Keep it in mind, all these things, then we can differentiate that. How to say? First, the decision. Whenever we are taking a 11th hour decision, adopt decision, then it is a short-term nature of demand forecasting. Suppose we have to take a major decision by forming a commission or committee or framing a teamwork of. After that, if you take the decision, then it is a nature of long-term forecasting. Production policy is a short-term nature, but starting a new unit, it is not a short-term nature, it is a long-term nature. Similarly, how much raw material you are going to purchase and what is the sales target for the next month, all these things are short-term nature. But how to expand the existing unit, where we have to start a new branch, where the demand is more, whether that market will be a feasible one, all these things, that decision if you want to take, it is not a short-term nature, it is a long-term nature. Similarly, what is the price fluctuation is happening, what are the strategy that we are using, means it is a short-term nature. But based on that price, when we go in the next 5 years, what will be my business, or what will be the next technological know-how, all these things, it is not short-term nature, it is a long-term nature. Finally, arranging for a working capital, determining the financial requirement is a short-term nature. How much money I need in the next week, how much money I need in the next month, all this is a short-term nature. But whether I have to recruit the skilled person or whether I have to a technician, whether I have to expand my personnel department, all these things coming under long-term demand forecasting. So after writing those 5 objectives, then you write this particular thing. That section B will have a definite 8 mark you can secure. But one thing we should keep in mind, both short-term and long-term forecasting are used to take an effective decision in business. Sometimes, suppose it's a very big company, means like Ashok Leyland or any Bell, Bharat Heavy. So this is a public sector. There, the short-term forecasting will not happen. Even though it is termed as a short-term forecasting, therefore forecasting are demand only for the long term. So sometimes some expert may say it is a short term, but some people may say it is a long term. For example, what will be the sale in 2021? I may say it is a short term, but some expert in that field, they may say it is a long term. Why? Because it is more than a year. So depending upon the situation, it will change. But we should have a basic idea what is short-term demand forecasting and the long-term demand forecasting. So after knowing the short-term and long-term, we should know what are the steps to implement the demand forecasting. First of all, we should identify or understand what is the purpose of it. What are the objective of the demand forecasting? Whether we are going to estimate the sale or we are going to recruit the manpower, or whether we are going to start a new unit. Based on that only, first we should identify the task and we should specify what is the exact objective of that particular forecasting. After understanding that, then we should consider the time factor. How much time it will take? Suppose it is within a month or within 2 months, means it's a short-term nature. Suppose it will take the data collection itself take a year, then it is not a short-term nature, it is a long-term nature. So the second step, we should bother about the time perspective. After that, based on whether it is a general demand forecasting or a specific demand forecasting, we should understand what type of method that we should apply for the demand forecasting. Suppose it is an existing product, then we can use the statistical method. Suppose it is a new product, then we have to use a different approaches. Whether it is qualitative or quantitative. Qualitative means survey methods we have to use. Suppose it is quantitative, statistical method we have to use. So the third best step for implementing the forecasting is selection of method. Once we frame the objective and we decide the time factor and we select this is the method that we have to use, the next one is the operation side. We have to collect the data. What type of data you should, whether it is primary data or secondary data, based on the thing we should collect, and we should confirm that whether that data is of the consistency. And mere entering some values will not be. We should have a genuine data. For that, a different test will be there. So based on that, we have to manipulate and adjust. Finally, data will be finalized. That particular data must be used, and statistical tools or any other qualitative tools will be used, and we have to estimate. That is the next step. We should estimate this much maybe the actual value, and for that you should interpret the result. How you have to prepare the demand forecasting report. So how we have to totally 6 steps. First one, we should specify and frame the objective. For that, we should consider the time factor, how much time it will take. The third one, we should select the right method of demand forecasting. The fourth one, we should collect the data. In the fifth one, we should interpret the data, and we should have the data consistency. That is primary data, secondary data, how it should be interpreted. Based on the interpreted, we should estimate the value. That estimated value interpreted as a demand forecasting report. This is the algorithm of implementing the demand forecasting method. Once we have this particular basic idea, what are the types of demand forecasting, and how it is classified, and what are the methods to implement that particular thing, then we should know what are the methods. The third method, selection of method, we should have that particular idea. So this particular flow chart will provide a clear idea about what are the methods available. Usually, the methods of demand forecasting is divided into 2 categories. One is the survey method, another one is the statistical method. When you do a qualitative one, we are not using quantified factor, then it is called survey method. Suppose we are using the data, collection of primary data, secondary data, and interpreting, then it is not the survey method, it is a statistical method. In survey method, there is 2 division. One is the consumer survey and opinion poll method. Suppose when you are approaching the ultimate consumer and you are collecting the data and you are saying, oh, this will be the value, then it is called consumer survey. Suppose instead of approaching the consumer, we are approaching the expert to give opinion, because there are so many people, there are consultancy and agency, they will say this may be the market. So asking their opinion and deciding the sales, and you are start producing, then it is opinion poll method. Under consumer survey method, there are 4 different categories. Suppose the total population in that particular market sector is 1000, means we can conduct a complete enumeration. All 1000 consumers will be approached, and we can collect the data and we can estimate that. But suppose it is 10,000, it is not possible to make an interview of all 10,000. So by the time you have to take some sample survey. Out of 10,000, we have select a few approachable, convenience sampling or quota sampling or random sampling, whichever be. So a sampling survey should be conducted. Based on that, the future sales may be estimated, or future any particular value will be estimated. Suppose that is not also possible. Suppose the population is 1 lakh. Then what we have to do? Better to go for the test marketing. That is, along with one product, we may give some sample with the along with that, and we can get the response from the consumer, how the consumer are preferring that. Test marketing method, there are many methods are there, but just mention it is a test marketing method. The last one is end use method. There are some products which are not neither be capital goods or perishable goods. Between it may be have a demand with the taste and preference. By that time, better to have end use method. Usually the tailor-made products are coming under this particular thing. Suppose there are people who want to buy a car, but which type of car they will buy, it depends upon the end use. My father is having a Maruti car, so I don't want to have a Maruti car. I will go for some other company. He may say. Suppose some people are there. My father is using this particular company. I also go for that. Here, for the same reason, there is different demand. So end use, what the consumer prefers, we have to understand that and we have to provide that. That is called end use method. Coming to the next part of the survey method is opinion poll method. There are two methods. We can consult with the expert and we can get advice from him, and we can project this will be, he said this much will be the thing, so we'll go for it. Otherwise, we can have the representative, regional manager, that particular district manager. Based on that, the representative of the consumer will be there. How the market will be, we can ask them and we can collect that opinion. Majority wins, and based on that, we can go for the production. So all these 6 methods coming under survey method. Now we are moving to the statistical method. Here, the statistical method has 3 different methods. One is called trend projection method, barometric method, and regression method. Our syllabus is expecting only the least squares, because the syllabus asking how the demand forecast is under least square method or trend projection method. That is our syllabus. This is only included, but actually there are many methods. We can, based on the data, we can construct a graph and how this fluctuation is there. With that paper, we can easily understand there is a, based on that different variation, we can identify this may be the estimated value of size. We can. The second one is the least square. This least square method only our syllabus. We are next class we'll have one case study, and that I will explain each and every method in the least square. Here there are 3 possible curve. One is straight line, parabolic, and logarithmic. All 3 I can go, but what is in the past question paper, I will solve that particular sum and I will apply that least square. You can understand in the next class. Now we will have the basic idea about what are the methods. The other methods are the time series method. That is using past data and we can project the future. There are different time series. There are seasonal data, moving average, weighted average. All these, there are many methods in the time series. Those who studied BSc Maths can able to understand this. Only thing is, it's very easy one. But the word is time series means you may think that because it's new to you, those who are not studied maths, but it's the simplest method. The other one is moving average method. It is an integral part of the time series only. And another 2 method is exponential method. That is having the squares. That is you using the algebra. We can construct the equation and you can solve it. Finally, ARIMA method. The ARIMA method is econometrics. ARIMA is nothing but, one minute, somebody is joining. ARIMA method is nothing but auto-regressive integrated moving average method. That is the economic concept, statistical concept, and maths concept. Combinedly, we have one model called ARIMA model. When you apply the values of data collected, it will give the result. Software is available in that particular thing. Nowadays, ARIMA method is very simplest method, but it is not easy to explain. Why? Because there are a lot of assumptions and reserve term, which is independent variable, which is dependent variable, all these things that we should. I think Mukesh is joining, but I don't know why he is not. Okay, let us continue. The next method is called barometric method. This is one of the easiest method of forecasting the demand. There will be a list of indicators for a particular thing, raw material, place, what is the price. There are different indicators will be there. We have to categorize into A, B, C. A category indicators are considered as leading indicators. The second one is B category, that is got coincident. It has not a heavy demand, but it is needed. The third one is C category. It is a lagging indicators. For example, net, bold, and particular watchman, warehouse, all these things will come under lagging indicators. So what is leading indicator? The raw material and the mission. And coincident indicator is the employee's problem. Or because on that time, what the salary and other things, any labor problem, all this coming under coincident indicator. So we have to give much investment for leading indicators. We have to give more importance for leading indicators, moderate importance for coincident, and lagging indicator. It should be what to say. We may ignore even. Why? Because we are to concentrate only the leading indicators like price, raw material, all these things. Finally, one more method called regression method. That regression have three category. One is the linear relation. When it is not linear, then it is non-linear regression. And third one is multiple regression. Suppose if there is a dependent variable and independent variable have a direct relation, direct proportion, then it is called linear. Suppose they don't have a direct relation and it have some proportion and sometimes it may not react, then it is not linear one. Then those methods are called non-linear regression method. Then suppose more than two or more dependent variable are there, sorry, two or more independent variable there, then we have to consider simultaneously. That particular method we used to call it as regression method. So these are the list of methods available for an existing product. Now, sometimes we have to forecast demand for the new product. By the time, it is very difficult. We don't have a past data. So what we have to do, there are 6 approaches given by Professor Joel D. He have given those 6. It's only a theoretical one, and but it is applicable. The first method we used to call it as evolutionary approach. This principle is based on comparing some other existing product related to that, and then we can say this may be the future sales. The second method is called substitution approach method. Suppose this particular new product may replace the existing product of some other product. It is not the actual same product, but it will solve the purpose of that other product. So we can compare that and we can estimate the future sale. That is called substitution approach. The third one is growth curve approach. This particular thing normally all the firms are using. For example, if you introduce a new powder, talcum powder, what is the actual thing? You can see the curve of the other existing product, and based on combining that, take the average, and if you draw one curve, that will give, sometimes they may give what are the defects of the existing product, what are the advantages of it, we can compare and we can make that new product to reach that. So that particular data will be entered in a graph and we have to estimate the sales. The fourth one, already I have said, opinion poll approach, that is consulting with the expert and we can finalize. Because people are over the years, they may be there. Suppose a new product is there, how what will be? So for that we can conduct a sample survey, giving additional product with the existing product, and we can see the reaction of the consumer, and finally we can estimate this will be the future sales. Another best method is called sales experience method. That is providing some samples and ask them to use. Then ask them the feedback. Finally, it will, in those days, one of the soap called Dove soap. That one have got the success because of this sales experience approach. Allow the consumer to use the product first, and based on the quality, they will demand irrespective of price. The last one is vigorous approach. Out of these 5, if you use any method, not there is no hard and fast rule for using the method. Either it will be a sales experience method, it may be an opinion method. We will have any one of the method, but I want to sell that product. So that is called vigorous approach. It will be a direct one and indirect one. So Joel Dean have given these 6 approaches for forecasting a demand for a new product. With this, I'm winding the class with this conclusion. What he said, a combination of many of them often desirable when they can supplement each other. When a new product is only improvement of a old product, evolutionary approach becomes useful. The growth curve approach has only limited application. Why? Because we have to combine all the things, so people are not going for it. But if you take a local firm, they are always go for this because it's very easy to apply. Then the vigorous approach appears very simple, but it is very difficult to implement the forecasting for a new product. Why? Because we don't have any confined idea. Any method is available for me, or people what they are saying, they will simply they'll make one trial and error method. That is called vigorous method. So with this, I'm winding up the class. If you have any doubt, you can ask me.